Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited you could be here because today we're talking about what we all truly want, which is financial liberation. How do you really do it? Like, we're not in business just to run businesses. At the end of the day, we're really here to have the kind of financial freedom, the financial liberation that we started our businesses to be able to get. Sometimes we get so sucked into the day to day running it that we forget the end goal of what we're trying to get. So, how do we become liberated financially? That's exactly what we're going to dive into, and you're going to learn today. So, with us today is Justin Buonamo. Now, Justin is the president and CEO of Journey to Financial Freedom, whose Financial Foundations program has rapidly become one of the most successful financial coaching programs in the United States. Now, originally from Rochester, New York, Justin's an accomplished academic and former All-American lacrosse player who holds a master's in healthcare management from Stevenson University. Now, his experience spans finance, economics, accounting, and healthcare management from his leadership role at Johns Hopkins Medicine and as an adjunct professor as well. Now, Justin is on a mission to improve financial literacy through personalized one-on-one coaching. His 6 weeks Financial Foundations program provides customized budget solutions to help families and businesses master their finances. Now, he aims to expand the program's impact through group coaching and courses as well. Justin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the introduction and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, man, it's interesting because you made a pretty big leap, right? Like you were in the financial or the healthcare side of things, and then you jumped into financial. So what motivated you to start this journey to where you are now to financial freedom and to be able to help other people obtain financial liberation?
Hey, I get that question all the time, as you can imagine, especially from the essence of like it was a really comfortable and good situation that I had when I was in the corporate world working for Hopkins. But growing up at age 10, unfortunately, my parents filed for bankruptcy for the second time. And at the time, they were very successful. This was like the late 90s, and they were making like 150, 160 put together, right? And ended up filing for bankruptcy because of that. They got a divorce. We lost our house, both cars, and even had to give my dog away when they lost the house because they both were going to rental properties where the landlord didn't allow pets. And so, simply put, I lost everything at age 10, which seemed to be because of money at the time. And so, at that age, I made a promise to myself when I could help people one day, when it comes to money, I was going to take every opportunity that I could get to do that. And yeah, I worked in healthcare in the corporate world, but a big part of my roles was running hospitals from a business standpoint. And I had multi-million dollars of responsibilities when it came to the financial management of the duties and the positions that I had. And so I learned a ton about finances in those positions that I ultimately transferred over and built myself a personal financial system, right? I started getting good results with it, started using my friends and family as guinea pigs. And, come 2020, I was like, holy shit, I think I actually have something here. And so I left my successful day job, started Journey to Financial Freedom, where we do financial coaching now for business owners. And in the second year of business, a couple of years back, we did 7 figures annually for the year, and we haven't looked back since. And so it's been an incredible opportunity where my passion for helping people intersected with my expertise around finances, and I was able to package it in a way that was massively lucrative to us, but extremely valuable to the client, and so super enjoyable for me and my team to be able to fulfill and work with incredible business owners on.
Hmm. That's an awesome journey. You talk about where you were at 10 and along the way, even on the financial side of John Hopkins. How's your mindset changed? Like, how has your mindset towards money and money management changed throughout this journey?
Such an incredible question. I've really the biggest part is that I've learned to address money in two buckets. One, the systems and strategies, which is very important. It's the black and white. It's like, okay, what are we doing and how are we doing that with our money? But the biggest thing that has changed over the years is the importance of the internal work that needs to be done, right? Because ultimately, your external wealth is just a reflection of the internal wealth, right? And so I have learned over the years that really building wealth and becoming financially free has a lot less to do with the number that you're accomplishing and more so to do with the human being that you become in the process to be able to elevate to those new levels, sustain it, and grow from there if that's what's in your plan. And so to ultimately get best results with your finances, you need to address both of those buckets, right? Because the systems and strategies work, but they work a heck of a lot better when you start to work through the experiences and traumas that you have in your life that have led to your beliefs around money, which then ultimately lead to your behaviors and your results with money. And so over the years, I've really realized working on that human being behind the money is ultimately one of the important things you can do.
What are some other things? I mean, well, you've got a 6 week course that's probably one of the best out there for helping people obtain financial liberation. So, what are some of the key principles or strategies that you teach that you think are the absolute most important for people to know to be able to get to financial liberation?
There's so much, but I think understanding that money is the tool, freedom is the goal is really important. And learning how to utilize that tool called money to the best of your abilities is huge. And a big stigma that we had to break, and I had to break with myself, was, I know you're going to love this. People think that all debt is bad, which, excuse my language or my bluntness, is one of the stupidest things that you could believe, right? One of the biggest things that helps me and helps most business owners is understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt, but which there is a difference. Bad debt is using money that you don't have to buy things that you don't need with no plan on how to pay that back, right? Like, let's go into the mall right now and balling out at the Louis Vuitton store on a credit card that has a 25% interest rate, right? With money that you don't have, other bills due, and no plan on how to pay that back. That'd be bad debt. Right. Good debt is leveraging other people's money at no cost or a low cost to increase your value, your wealth, and your opportunities. And as soon as I started to be able to wrap my head around that principle and teach our business owners that we work with, the game changes when it comes to reaching financial freedom.
I'm disappointed you say that because I really like Louis Vuitton, for the record. I was hoping that would fall in the I was hoping that would follow the good debt category, not the bad debt category, but that's okay. That's all right. We'll get past my disappointment here. So it's interesting you say that because I talk about this a lot, right? Like if we look at the Dave Ramsey's of the world, I get it, right? Like his avatar has a really hard time managing their money, right? And they spend money probably potentially recklessly on credit cards. But in business, it's a different world, right? I mean, Apple has $100 billion in debt. If we look at Walmart, 80% of what they buy, you use business credit to buy. So these guys have become the biggest in the world because they're using debt wisely. So it sounds like that's part of your teaching. When you're talking to entrepreneurs, which our entire audience is, what are you talking to them? How do you change that mindset, not just about good or bad debt, but how they can leverage OPM and leverage good debt to be able to scale and grow faster?
1000%. And so I love the phrase used, OPM, my favorite kind of money, other people's money. And so when it comes to being a business owner, right, it's important that you're able to stay liquid, right? Especially in the early years. I mean, even throughout your entire journey. And staying liquid just means keeping your cash on hand. Right. And so if you're not going to use your cash to invest in opportunities that are going to ultimately grow your business to levels that you want to get it to, right, you have to use somebody else's money. Right. And so it's really just a necessity. Money is needed to scale your business. And when it comes to money, you're either using your money or somebody else's money. Right. And if we need your money for other things, that can't be a license to not scale your business. Right. Instead, an opportunity to explore other options. And so when we open people up to those opportunities, especially like 0% APR options, right? There's so many opportunities out there. Like when we first started our business, I got 0% APR from Amex, a credit line that was $30,000. We were able to utilize that $30,000 to throw a live event, right? No interest whatsoever for, I think it was like 18 or 21 months. And we made $300,000 with a live event, right? And so we couldn't have been able to do that if we didn't have access to funds. And I didn't want to use my own funds, even if I had them, right? But using somebody else's at no cost or low cost will massively open up doors for your business to scale, to then ultimately increase the cash flow, where you now have your own cash flow at higher levels that you can still choose to use that or somebody else's. But really the name of the game is, we need money to scale. Whose are we using? Yours or somebody else's?
I love that. And I love how you explain it because I talk about these things, but not as in depth as the coaching that you are. And by the way, yours is journeytofinancialfreedom.co. That's your main site.
.co.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
So journeytofinancialfreedom.co, by the way, if you haven't already visited it, visit it now because there's just a lot of in-depth information I think there that can help you. But here's the interesting thing, Justin, is that what I find is that a lot of companies can't get, if you let's look at an Uber of the world or Facebook, right? The only reason these guys are who they are is because they used VC, venture capital money, to get to as big as they are. So it's like you almost run into this barrier of not being able to grow or scale beyond, whatever you have the means to do, which is a very small growth. So that's one of the misconceptions, is good versus bad debt, that I see. What else do you see? What other misconceptions about financial freedom or financial management do you see that you're like, oh, not this one again? I mean, why? When is the world going to realize this is not true? What other misconceptions do you see like that?
That budgeting is bad or boring or not needed. And so unfortunately, society has created this negative stigma around budgeting, that it's for poor people, or that it's restricting, or that it's negative. And really, unfortunately, you're just running the wrong system. All budgeting is a plan on where your money is coming in from and where it's going out to. And so if you're running the right budget system, it should empower you to spend your money and live your life. And I think that's the biggest misconception out there in the financial world, is that us, in addition to those, points around budgeting, right? Budgeting should be that tool that allows you to live your life, allows you to spend your money, but in a calculated, controlled, and confident fashion. And people think it's impossible to make financial progress and live your life at the same time. They kind of take it as an or thing. But what we teach is it can be an and thing. You can live your life and spend your money on what you want to spend it on and make financial progress at the same time. And so that's a big stigma that we like to break with our clients, is you don't have to put your fucking, excuse my language, your life on hold, right? To make financial progress, right? And to make financial progress doesn't mean that you got to sit inside and stare at the wall and never do anything fun. You can do both at the same time, as long as you're on the right systems and using the right tools, and the proper budget is that tool that will allow that.
What about goals? How important are goals into this? Because I see so many people just in life and in business just lost because they don't have a direction of where they're heading. And I find myself, especially if I know where I'm headed, I could get there, but not knowing, like, it's problematic. So, how important is it to set goals on the financial side when you're going through this process? And then, how do you do that? How do you achieve reasonable goals that you can actually hit on the financial management side?
It's a great question. And so goals are so super important when it comes to financial progress, because without having goals for your finances, it's kind of like getting into a car with no GPS and no destination, and you're just driving around aimlessly. You're never going to get anywhere. Right. And so like those goals are the intentionality. It's the mission for your money. So when you have a mission for your money, it makes it a lot easier to manage your money correctly and ultimately make progress. And the biggest confusion when it comes to goal creation and goal accomplishment is this blanket and general advice that's out there, right? And so there's a lot of blanket and general advice out there that if you follow, you'll get decent results, you'll get good results. But when it comes to your goals, you need to understand this: what we call your unique variables. Simply put, what makes you different? Your age, where you live, how many kids you have, what are your goals, what are your stresses, what do you do for a living? Just to give you a few examples, you need to take those into consideration to then create yourself a custom strategy around your goals to make sure that, number one, you're going after the right ones first, and number two, we're accomplishing those goals in the fastest, cheapest, most stress-free and trustworthy way as possible. A big thing, like for the first point, making sure that you're accomplishing the right ones first, is what we call cadence of accomplishments, right? Should I pay off my credit cards first? Should I build an emergency fund first? Should I invest in real estate first? Should I put this money into the stock market, right? Like all of those could be great goals, but it's really important to understand the cadence of accomplishment, AKA which ones to go after first, which ones to go after second, and ultimately which ones you may be able to run in parallel. And so you need goals. You need to understand your unique variables to create optimal goals for you and your unique situation, because what works for me, Ty, may not work for you because we've got different unique variables, right? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah. How
Cool.
important is mindset in all this? Like, how important is it that I have the right mindset? Because it seems to me like even budgeting, for example, man,
Right.
that's a mindset thing more than anything. Like, how do you help people during your coaching to be able to get their mindset right? How important is mindset to getting the results?
I think that's a great question, because mindsets I kind of see as like your belief system, right? And so I'll use an analogy and then I'll use the science. So the analogy is majority of people probably listening to this have probably been on a nutrition or a fitness plan where they crushed it for 60 to 90 days and then they fell off, right? Raise your hand. I know people are probably driving, right? Have you done it? I've done it, right? I do it all the time. Right. And it's nothing against the fitness or nutrition industry or those programs. They're fantastic. But the biggest issue is that they only address things at a behavioral level. Once you start to address things at a belief level, that's when you start to get long-term sustainable results. And so your mindset is that belief, right? The belief level. And so how you address things at a belief level when it comes to the scientific approach and what we work on with our clients is ultimately understanding this: Your results are a direct correlation to your behaviors. Your behaviors are a direct result of your beliefs, and your beliefs were formed through your traumas and experiences in life. So if you're willing to do the work and sit down and really understand what happened to you in life to form the beliefs you have, you'll start to get a ton better results in your finances instead of like budgeting for 30 days and falling off. How about budgeting for the rest of your life and loving it and getting great results from it, right? And so budgeting is kind of like and that tool. So if you got financial goals, right, you need the right tools to accomplish those financial goals. And so I always use the analogy, like imagine you were a contractor or a construction worker, right? And you had a goal of renovating a master bathroom or building a house, and you wanted to accomplish that goal in the best manner possible. You're probably going to need your tools, your hammer, your saw, your screwdrivers, right? Imagine trying to accomplish that goal without those tools. You may do it, but it's going to take you a heck of a lot longer, and you're going to put yourself and whoever else is involved through a whole bunch of unnecessary stress and anxiety in the process. Same thing when it comes to your financial goals. That budget and a balance sheet, but we'll get into that maybe later. But the budget is that major tool for you to accomplish all of your financial goals in the fastest, cheapest, most stress-free and trustworthy way as possible. So once we help our clients understand those things, then the beliefs start to shift, the behaviors get better, and ultimately the results actually are there that they want to see.
Since you talked about that budget, and I think you mentioned balance sheet. I might have overheard that. But what financial documents as an entrepreneur like do you have to do? Because I find a lot of business owners do not want. They know they need to look at their numbers. They know they need to know it. And to be honest with you, that's the only reason they're even looking is they know they need to be. But most of them don't. They don't keep up with their financials. They're trying to get loans. They don't even have financial statements ready. What do you think that they should be looking at regularly? And what kind of financial documents should they mostly be familiar with?
Wasn't that funny that we're in this business to make money most times? Like, I mean, again, yes, we're in it for the impact, but income is just a direct reflection of the impact. And also income, like money, is like oxygen to our business to allow us to have the largest impact possible. So it's so funny that we're in business for that, but we refuse to look at it. And that doesn't make too much sense. And so it doesn't have to be hard, though. That's the thing. That's where people have these negative stigmas around money. They think it's confusing, it's hard, it's scary. But when you're taught finances by the right person with the right strategies, who has your right intentions in mind, it ultimately starts to become a lot easier. And so really, as a business owner, you just need a budget, which you can call an income statement. You can call P&L, whatever you want to call it, right? It's just how much are you making, how much are you spending, and how much is left over each month. It's very important information. Right. And then a balance sheet, which is a much simpler document than a budget. A balance sheet is just your assets versus your liabilities, a very fancy way of saying what are you worth versus what you owe. Both of those documents show you everything that you need to know to ultimately understand what makes most sense for you strategically moving forward. And so the budgets that we help our clients run, literally after it's set up and we set it up for you, takes you 1 to 3 minutes a day to maintain it. If that. It's kind of like telling you all you got to do, Ty, is work out 1 to 3 minutes a day and you're going to have 6-pack abs. It's going to be the stupidest, easiest decision we ever make, right? And then the balance sheet really just needs to be maintenance like once or twice a month for a couple of minutes. And if you're willing to look at them, a couple of times a week, you will get best results.
What other obstacles do you think people run into here? Because everybody wants financial freedom. You know, as I do, the statistics are staggering of how many people will never get anywhere close to there, even entrepreneurs. So what's wrong? Like, what are the obstacles? What are the barriers that stand in people's way that you help break down with your coaching?
People are trying to find a shortcut or avoid the work that actually needs to be done to achieve the outcome of financial freedom. Everyone wants the outcome. Nobody wants the input. Right? Everyone prays for the outcome. Nobody prays to have strength to go through the input. And so when it comes to financial freedom, like you said, a very small probability of people actually accomplish that. So that should probably tell everybody the input that it takes to get there is very hard. And so I tell people all the time, stop avoiding your money. What you resist, persist, right? And all you're doing is just avoiding work that you're going to have to come back to one day eventually if you're really serious about this financial freedom thing. And then I think the second thing is just understanding like I think the true and the right definition of financial freedom. It's like this buzz phrase, but people don't actually understand what it actually means. And so the definition that we give our clients and work on them with is financial freedom is just owning an asset or assets that make you enough money each month automatically to cover your expenses and your lifestyle, whether you choose to show up or not. Right. And a lot of times the asset is our business. So my business each month, no matter if I show up or not, makes me enough money to cover my expenses and my lifestyle, and I choose to show up how I want. That's financial freedom, right? And it's impossible to live your dream life if you don't have the financial freedom vehicle to get you there. And it's impossible to have a financial freedom vehicle, AKA your business, if you're not leveraging and managing this beautiful tool called money to help build it.
I love that. I think it's so important to be able to do that. And you've mentioned about debt as well. We talked about managing debt, debt versus bad debt. But how do you reduce debt? Because I'm sure, they say it's easier to sell painkillers than it is vitamins, right? So I'm sure by the time people come to you, they're probably not being proactive. I would imagine most of the people that come to you are reactive. They're already in a situation they're trying to get out of. So what do you advise them? How do you help them? They probably have already accrued bad debt at this point. What do you do? What do you teach strategy wise to start reducing that bad debt once you teach the behaviors that are needed to prevent further bad debt accruing?
I'm sure. So then we got to pick out what's the most expensive debt first, right? So what's the most expensive, the most detrimental debt that they have, and then put a plan together on how we're going to attack that, right? And so there's several ways you can use many different strategies like 0% APR credit cards, right? If you got interest bearing credit on one credit card, we can open up a 0% APR credit card, transfer the balance over, and now we stop accruing the interest and we can get a plan together on how to strategically pay off the 0% APR card before the interest starts to kick in after 15, 18, 20 months, right? There's other awesome opportunities too as well when it comes to other good forms of debt like accessing the equity in your home, right? So a lot of our clients will open up a HELOC or a home equity line of credit where they can borrow against the equity in their home at 5%, take that money and go pay off the 25% interest credit card debt. The HELOC is good form of debt because it's consumer debt, right? And then also the monthly payment on the HELOC, let alone the interest, is much cheaper than the credit card, right? You pay the credit card debt off, your credit score goes up because your consumer debt goes down, and you save a heck of a lot of money on the HELOC when you transfer the debt over there because you're paying a much less monthly payment and paying less in interest. And so there's point being that if you don't have your own cash to pay off the debt, there are strategic transfers that we can utilize when it comes to OPM, other people's money, to pay off the bad high interest debt and transfer it over to good debt that is easily managed.
Yeah, super smart. Most don't do that. Most just pay off the lowest, the lowest balance they have. Like if I have 5 credit cards, they don't even look at the rate. They're just paying off the lowest balance because I think that's the easiest one to obtain. But what you're saying of looking at that strategically and figuring basically the highest, the money it's costing you the most, get rid of that stuff first and move money around if needed to be able to pay as little as possible while you do that. It's brilliant. That's brilliant strategy.
Yeah,
So
thank you. I just like, what's the biggest bang for your buck when it comes to paying off debt? And let's attack that.
now, how do you create balance? So, because I've learned recently that there's different kind of entrepreneurs. Some are in this for legacy, for example. Some are in this for lifestyle, and there's more types. But if you look at that, a lot of people are here for lifestyle, right? You see them, I see them everywhere. Like the guys are in their 20s now, driving Lambos everywhere around. So, how do you do this? How do you find balance between like enjoying the life that you want to enjoy right now, and then actually saving for the future? Because man, that one thing is like where I see almost everybody get stuck is they want to save for the future, but they don't want to work as hard as they're working and make the money they're making and not have like the lifestyle they want to have now. So what do you do? How do you navigate that? How do you accomplish balance in that?
Yeah. If the lifestyle that we're trying to live isn't secure and responsible, then it's really not as enjoyable as people are making it seem to be. If you're driving that Lambo thinking it's going to get repoed in 6 months, if your business goes out because you got no money saved, and like you're doing stupid things that don't need to be done, right? Like I'm not against materialistic things. I have a multi-million-dollar house. My wife drives a Range Rover. I drive a BMW X5, right? Like we spend our money, trust me. But we have done the right things first to build a solid foundation below that lifestyle, right? And so people skip straight to the lifestyle and skip over the foundations. And so I think focus your time first on building those foundations, right? Understanding how to manage your debt, build a savings account that makes sense for you and your business, start to get some investments for the long term, right? Buy assets that are producing you money while you sleep, like stocks, bonds, real estate, and then invest in your business in a way that creates stability around the income that can automatically each month cover your expenses in your lifestyle. And so I tell people all the time, like, I don't want you to be wealthy for 5 years, 10 years, or 30 years. I want you to be wealthy for generations to come. And business owners that have generational wealth, they build it on a strong foundation. And a lot of times that foundation is just built on financial literacy and stability. And so make a short-term sacrifice to build foundations, and then you can live your lifestyle however you want for the rest of your life and truthfully enjoy it instead of sitting at dinner, right, waiting for that tab to come and thinking like, oh shit, should I have done this? Should I have picked up this tab? Or, you're on vacation and you spend all this time, money, and energy on the vacation, and you're worrying about the expenses the whole time in the background, whether you have large amounts of money or not. That sounds like prison, not paradise to me, right? So spend the necessary amount of time building the foundations and then live your life for the rest of your life.
What about emergency funds? Do you recommend it to your clients? And if so, what are some of your best practices to build an emergency fund and maintain an emergency fund? And like, is there a rule of how much we should have in our emergency fund related to our expenses, income, et cetera?
Absolutely. And we recommend it. It's one of the main goals. It's one of the foundational pieces we recommend because nothing scarcity wise, but it's just a matter of if. It's not a matter of if, but when something pops up, especially as a business owner. Being a business owner is literally just a game of solving problems that creates more problems. And a lot of times those problems are costly financially, right? And so when things start to become expectations, they're no longer problems. And so we want to plan for those expectations. And so having an emergency fund for the personal and for the business are super important, right? And people are like, well, I don't want to have $20,000 sitting in the bank making no money when it could be out making money. And I'm like, I get that, but we're willing to risk losing a few bucks on making money off of that money to ensure that we have money readily available when an emergency pops up, right? And so how to come up with an emergency fund number, I'm going to give you the exact equation and process that we work with on our clients. So first thing is figuring out the months and then figuring out how much. And so when it comes to how many months of emergency fund should you have, no less than 3, but no more than 6 months. Anything less than 3 is a massive risk, especially for a business owner. Anything more than 6 is just a waste of money at that point. We want to have anything above 6 months of emergency funds invested, churning for you somewhere else. And so an example of somebody that would have 3 months. Let's just say my buddy who lives at home with his mom, right? And he doesn't own the house. So if the furnace blows, it's not his responsibility to fix, right? He's got no children, so there's no liabilities there. He's a very smart guy. He's highly employable and his car is paid off. It's like, he doesn't really have many liabilities that like an emergency can pop up. So I'd probably tell him to have 3 months. Then the person that has 6 months, right? The family that, they got a big multi-million-dollar house, they got a beach house, they got 3 kids that are 2, 4, and 6, and that problematic age, and they've got some businesses that they got to take care of. They should probably have 6, right? And so kind of try to decide on the spectrum of those examples, where do you fall? 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, or 6 months? Let's just do easy numbers here and say that you fall at 5 months, right? It's the first decision we got to make, right? So you need 5 months of emergency funds, but 5 months of what? So the second part of the equation is most people think that they need to cover their income with their emergency funds, but that's not the case. You just have to cover your expenses, right? So if your expenses each month are $5,000, go through your budget, go through your bank account, right? Figure out what are your monthly expenses. And for easy numbers, let's say that's $5,000, right? So to come up with your emergency fund goal, you do 5 months times 5,000, and that'll be $25,000, which would need to be your emergency fund number. It's the exact strategy we work on with our clients. And second, we ask, after that, how much do you have already? All right, you got 10K already. So that means we need $15,000 more until we get to that emergency fund number. We look at their budget. Okay, you are profiting $1,000 a month after all expenses. So if you save that $1,000 for the next 15 months, you'll accomplish your emergency fund goal of $25,000 in the next 15 months. That gives you the how and the when on how you're going to accomplish your goals.
It's powerful. I appreciate it. I mean, that's a detailed step-by-step formula of exactly how to figure that out. And I think everybody should pay attention to that because, as Justin said, if you don't have that in business and on the personal side, it could be, catastrophic to you, to your personally or to the business as well. Passive income. You mentioned this earlier. You mentioned, real estate, for example, and how you should have your money out there working for you outside of obviously your emergency fund. What are some of your favorite types of passive income that you kind of tell your coaching clients to be able to potentially pursue to invest in?
I think that's a great question. I think what's authentic to me is more so I just teach them the best way to become a millionaire, right? And the best way to become a millionaire is become an equity millionaire first and then a cash millionaire. So equity millionaire just means you don't have $1 million in cash, but you own things that are worth $1 million, right? And so the fastest way to do that is investing in your business, right? So utilizing your extra cash each month or other people's funds to invest in your business to make your business worth $1 million. Though you may not have $1 million in the bank, if your business is worth $1 million and you own 100% of it, you are now an equity millionaire. And if you do it the right way, once your business becomes worth 7 figures, now your cash flow each month becomes larger, right? It's a heck of a lot easier to save your way to $1 million when you're profiting $25,000 compared to profiting $1,000 a month, right? And so you want to invest your funds into your business. What is your financial freedom vehicle? What is that asset that is going to make you financially free? And invest your money in that right now in the short term to turn it into a 7-figure company. And if you're doing it the right way, then it's going to cash flow you a heck of a lot more money than it used to, right? Now you have 10, 20, 30, $40,000 left over each month. Now it's time to ask yourself, with those leftover funds that asset of your financial freedom vehicle produced for you, now what other assets can we go buy? Now, most times that's for the long haul now, right? So let's invest in the stock market. Let's invest in real estate, right? Let's get other assets feeding assets, right? And so for me, I love buying great companies at a good price, right? And that's what Warren Buffett says when it comes to the stock market. And so I look for dips in the stock market, like Meta just dropped a couple of weeks ago, right? And there was nothing wrong with Meta. People were just freaking out about a couple of reports that came out. But in the long haul, Meta is going to win. So when the stock market drops, it's like buying the best companies in the world on clearance. And so I look for great companies at a good price. And great companies are, companies that have great brands, have great missions, but also have great employees. Like Google, Apple, Facebook, or Meta. Like they're never going to stop getting the best recruits out of Stanford, right? They're never going to stop getting the best CEOs and executives in the world, right? And so when companies like that go on sale, when the market drops, it's an incredible opportunity to buy. And so I'm big into the stock market when it comes to when I have access funds for my business to invest in things. I really like infinite banking tools, right? Which is essentially just saving money or investing money that over time you can borrow against it. So you're borrowing money from yourself at no cost to low cost and paying yourself back with interest. And any of the interest that you do pay is just going back into your account, right? And so you're kind of over time taking the banks out of the equation. My wife and I, we have infinite banking tools in the stock market where we borrow against, and we have a lending company that's a different company than JFF. So we have a micro lending company that's registered with the SEC, and we lend money out for 20%. And so what we do is we borrow money from our infinite banking tools, pay ourselves back at 5%, take the money, lend it out for 20% through Freedom Financing, which is our company. And ultimately, a lot of times we're just financing the JFF clients to purchase our products there, right? So assets feeding assets, assets growing assets. But we could have never done that if we didn't become an equity millionaire first, by first focusing on achieving financial freedom by turning JFF into that vehicle.
Yeah, infinite banking. I love it. Justin, one final question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
If I'm just getting started on this journey, what is some of your best advice? I mean, I know journey to financialfreedom.co, obvious first step, but like what other advice do you have besides going to journey to financialfreedom.co for people just getting started on this journey that are really serious about obtaining financial freedom?
Yeah. I think the biggest misconception people have is they think more money is going to solve their problems. But all more money does is accentuate your poor money habits and the gaps that you have in your money game right now. So the key, I promise you this, the key for the first step is take control of your current situation correctly. If you can't handle your current situation correctly, what makes you think you can handle more? Right? All more money is going to do, if you don't have the right habits in place and the right systems in place, you're just going to make more. You're going to spend. You're going to make more. And the same exact problems you had in the past, if not more problems, right? When you had less money coming in. So the key, take control of your current situation, optimize that, and then you'll move on to next levels.
I love it. It's powerful. Mo money, mo problems. I love it. That's a great way to wrap up today. All right, Justin, thank you so much for coming on with us today. I really appreciate you being here.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for having me.
All right, so listen, you need to go to journeytofinancialfreedom.co. And here's why. Because Justin and his team will give you 100% free consultation to talk to you about a path forward so you can actually have financial freedom. So you could be liberated and truly have financial liberation. And while you're at journeytofinancialfreedom.co, you can also see case studies. You can see like how they break it up with how much money they're able to actually save, or how much money people are actually able to benefit from. I don't even know how to explain it. You got to really, you have to go to the website and see it. That's the whole purpose. You got to go to journeytofinancialfreedom.co. But they've got case studies there. They've got testimonials there. You can learn more about their services. But like I said, most importantly, you're able to schedule 100% free consultation with Justin and his team. And that's the first step towards to actually getting to financial freedom and financial liberation. Like, as I always say, this means nothing. None of this interview means anything if you don't take action, right? So if you take one action, go to journeytofinancialfreedom.co. Right there, you schedule the free consultation. You're going to walk away from that learning things you did not know, and maybe even a basis of a strategy moving forward. And then you can also see about how effective, powerful, and what Justin and his team do to make it affordable for you to be able to work with him and his team to actually go through and be part of their coaching program to obtain true financial liberation. So again, Justin, thanks for coming in. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure you go to journeytofinancialfreedom.co right now to schedule that free consultation. Thanks. Take care.